She sits across from someone kind, someone patient, someone who listens. There's no chaos in the room, no raised voice, no sharp edge hidden beneath a smile. And yet, she feels nothing. Her chest is quiet, her pulse steady. The silence that should feel safe somehow feels suffocating. Many people know this feeling. The moment they finally meet someone who treats them well, something inside them resists. They pull away. They tell themselves there's no spark, no chemistry, no magic. But deep down, it's not boredom they're feeling, it's confusion. Why does healthy love feel wrong to the very people who crave it most? In psychology, this moment often begins where safety was once uncertain. When a person grows up in an environment where love was unpredictable, where affection came and went without warning, their nervous system learns to associate intensity with intimacy. The body becomes fluent in chaos. A calm relationship then feels foreign, almost threatening, not because it is unsafe, but because it does not match the rhythm of what love once meant. This is called emotional conditioning. The body learns patterns long before the mind can explain them. A child who had to earn affection learns to chase it. A teenager who found love through conflict learns that pain means connection. By adulthood, peace feels like emptiness, and kindness feels suspicious. So when someone offers stability, it doesn't register as love, it registers as absence. There's no rush of adrenaline, no survival reflex, no puzzle to solve. It's a strange quiet that the brain mistakes for disinterest. This is the paradox. What feels wrong is often what's right. But because our emotions are guided by familiarity, not logic, the nervous system prefers what it recognizes, even if it hurts. There's a small but haunting term in psychology for this: the repetition compulsion. It describes the unconscious drive to recreate the emotional environment of our past, hoping this time it will end differently. We chase the same patterns, the same personalities, the same imbalance, not out of desire, but out of unfinished business. And so, when we meet someone kind, our system can't find the script. There's no danger to neutralize, no rejection to preempt, no approval to chase. We don't know what to do with safety because we were never taught how to feel safe. This is why, in therapy, many people say, "I know this person is good for me, but I just can't feel it." It's not a lack of attraction, it's a nervous system that has mistaken peace for boredom. Healthy love doesn't feel like the movies. It doesn't begin with fireworks, it begins with quiet. And for many, that quiet feels wrong until they learn it's what healing sounds like. To understand why this happens, we have to look at how the body stores memory. Not in words or images, but in sensations. The heart rate that spikes when someone raises their voice. The tightness in the stomach when affection turns cold. The small breath held in anticipation of disapproval. These are the body's archives of love. When love was unstable, the body learned to be alert. It linked attachment with uncertainty and calmness with danger, because quiet moments were often the calm before the storm. So later in life, when someone offers steady affection, the body doesn't feel relief. It feels the unease that once signaled something's about to go wrong. This is not conscious choice, it's the body remembering. The irony is that the person who craves safety the most often feels most uncomfortable when they finally have it. Because safety requires surrender, and surrender feels impossible to someone who survived by staying alert. A common pattern emerges: they meet someone kind but feel off. They start to look for flaws, for hidden motives. They test boundaries, withdraw affection, or provoke conflict, not out of cruelty but to restore a sense of normalcy. Chaos feels like home, and home feels like love. Psychologists describe this as attachment incongruence, the mismatch between what the conscious mind desires and what the nervous system expects. The mind says, "I want stability." The body whispers, "But stability feels wrong." And yet there's a crucial insight hidden here. The feeling of wrongness is not proof of incompatibility. It's a signal of unfamiliar safety. In fact, the discomfort is often a sign that something new, something healthier, is happening. Imagine someone learning to walk again after years of imbalance. Every correct step feels strange. Muscles tremble not because they're weak, but because they're waking up. In the same way, emotional safety is not instantly soothing. It's disorienting. The body doesn't yet know that peace can last. This is why healing rarely feels like healing at first. When love becomes calm, the nervous system interprets it as distance. When someone doesn't raise their voice, it feels like disinterest. When conflict isn't followed by reconciliation, it feels like abandonment. Over time, however, with consistency and trust, the nervous system begins to recalibrate. What once felt foreign begins to feel natural. The quiet no longer feels empty, it feels alive. But before that happens, there's a stage of emotional withdrawal, a psychological detox from chaos. And this stage is where many people leave, mistaking discomfort for incompatibility. They don't realize that love isn't failing, it's rewiring them. To stay through that discomfort requires awareness and patience, because the body can't be argued with, it has to be retrained. Healthy love isn't something we simply recognize, it's something we learn to feel. This learning often begins when someone notices their own patterns repeating, realizing that every relationship feels like a variation of the same emotional script. The faces change, but the feelings don't. The highs, the fears, the chasing, they all lead back to a familiar emotional terrain. It's at this point that some people begin to understand. The problem isn't who they love, but what their body believes love is supposed to feel like. In trauma therapy, this is called somatic awareness, bringing attention to the body's sensations during emotional experiences. When someone feels anxious around a kind partner, they're taught to notice it without fleeing, to breathe through it, to observe it like weather passing through. Slowly, the body learns that calm can coexist with safety. But that process can feel like grief, because letting go of chaotic love also means letting go of the version of oneself that survived it. The vigilant self, the one that always had to anticipate moods, decode silences, and work for affection. That version learned resilience, but it also learned fear disguised as love. And so, the shift toward healthy love often feels like identity loss. The person feels dull, muted, unsure of who they are without the intensity that once defined them. It's not that they missed the pain, they missed the aliveness that pain once provided. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of healing. People assume safety should feel instantly peaceful, but in truth, safety feels like boredom until your body stops expecting danger. It's why early recovery from toxic love can feel like standing in a silent room after years of sirens. The quiet is deafening, the stillness feels unbearable, but it's in that silence that the nervous system finally begins to rest. Gradually, the body learns to interpret calm differently. The absence of chaos no longer feels like absence of connection, it feels like space. Space for thought, space for presence, space for genuine affection to emerge without fear of it being taken away. Healthy love isn't a constant adrenaline rush, it's a steady heartbeat. It doesn't demand you to prove your worth, it reminds you that you already have it. But to reach that understanding, one must unlearn years of emotional reflexes that equated love with survival. And that's where the real work begins, learning how to stay in peace without mistaking it for danger. To stay in peace means learning to rewire how the body responds to gentleness. Because for many, gentleness once came with a hidden cost. A calm voice before criticism, a loving gesture before withdrawal. The nervous system learned, softness doesn't last, it's just the eye of the storm. So when a partner today offers real kindness, without an agenda, it triggers a subconscious scan. What do they want? When will this turn? The body braces for impact even when none is coming. It's an invisible reflex born from a lifetime of mixed signals. This reflex can be softened, but only through repeated experiences of consistency. Each time someone shows care and doesn't take it back, the body's prediction model updates. Each time a boundary is respected instead of punished, trust deepens. Slowly, a new pattern forms. Safety starts to feel familiar. Neuroscience describes this process as neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire its emotional associations through experience. Emotional safety becomes a learned state, just as hypervigilance once was, but repetition is the key. One safe moment doesn't erase years of uncertainty. Healing love is quiet, repetitive, and often unglamorous. That's why many people give up before this shift happens. They interpret their restlessness as a sign that something's missing, that this calm partner isn't the one. What they're really feeling is their nervous system detoxing from unpredictability. They've mistaken withdrawal symptoms for incompatibility. It's important to understand, attraction isn't always a sign of health. Sometimes what feels like chemistry is just the body recognizing a familiar emotional pattern, the same highs and lows it once called love. And what feels like no spark is simply the absence of chaos. Healthy love feels stable because it is. But stability doesn't excite the survival system, it soothes it. It allows for depth instead of drama, understanding instead of decoding, safety instead of strategy. Yet to someone who's known love as a game of survival, this calm can feel almost unbearable at first. They may even long for the intensity they once had, unaware that intensity and intimacy are not the same thing. One burns quickly, the other sustains quietly. The challenge then is not to chase the feeling of love, but to redefine what love feels like. Because real love is not an adrenaline rush. It's not the high of being chosen after anxiety. It's the low hum of being seen and still staying. But to experience that, one must learn to trust the quiet and realize that what feels wrong might finally be right. Trusting the quiet is perhaps the hardest part, because quiet doesn't announce itself as love. It doesn't flood you with emotion or make your heart race. It doesn't prove itself with drama. It just is. And for someone used to equating love with noise, the arguments, the apologies, the intensity of being wanted and feared at the same time, quiet can feel like nothing. But that nothing is what safety feels like before you've learned to recognize it. It's the emotional equivalent of a healthy heartbeat. Steady, unremarkable, vital. Still, even when people begin to understand this, another fear arises, the fear of losing themselves. If love isn't chaos, who am I without the chase? Without the rescue missions and reconciliations, what's left to feel alive about? This is where healing becomes identity work, because many of us didn't just experience unhealthy love, we were shaped by it. Our self-worth was built on managing other people's moods, on reading subtle cues to stay safe. We became experts at emotional survival, and when survival is all you've known, peace can feel like erasure. So the work of learning healthy love isn't about finding the perfect partner. It's about building a self that no longer confuses calm with emptiness, a self that can sit in the stillness of care without needing to earn it. In this space, love begins to shift from something we chase to something we allow. It's not about performing to be chosen, it's about relaxing enough to be seen. And when that shift finally happens, something beautiful unfolds. The nervous system, once primed for danger, starts to rest. You stop scanning the room for threats. You stop over-analyzing every silence. The constant hum of anxiety that once felt like love finally fades. You start to realize that love isn't supposed to feel like waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's not supposed to make you dizzy or small. It's supposed to give you space to exhale. That's when healthy love begins to feel right. Not because it's new, but because it's finally familiar. The same way light feels strange after years underground, peace feels foreign until you live in it long enough to call it home. And once you do, you'll look back and understand that the spark you used to crave was really the flicker of uncertainty, and that the quiet you once feared is what real connection sounds like when it finally stops trying to survive.